welcome to another edition of Heat Seeker Outdoors. I'm Brian Bailey. This week we're going to do more of an informative, kind of a how-to video on creating dirt hole sets for catching coyotes. We're going to walk through from location all the way through baits, gear, right up to setting the trap itself. And then creating that whole set. So hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully it's informative. And then hopefully, you can pick something up maybe that'll help you be a little more successful on your line this season. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Heat Seeker Outdoors. It's a weird point in trapping season here. We're right at the very end. We haven't got a whole lot of trapping done, and my friend Cody, he's been asking me a little bit here and there to get over and try to catch some coyotes for him. And we finally got a break here to get out and get some traps set. So we're just going to do a little bit of Dirt Hole 101 today, and talk about everything that goes into a dirt hole. I've caught coyotes in dirt holes my entire career. That's 99% of the sets that I'm using. Might do a Urim post occasionally. To me, a flat set is so similar to a dirt hole set a lot of times. I just call it, it's kind of the same set to me almost. There's some variations of the flat set that make it different, but for the most part, the dirt hole is the most effective at catching these coyotes. Snaring, some could argue, is a little more effective at it. But so we're going to walk through all the different equipment that we're going to be using. We're going to set some, and then we'll show you some catch after that, hopefully. And hopefully Cody's livestock here will be able to go through this spring with the births and everything and not have to worry about it. So sit tight. So something that came along here more recently, I wish I'd have had this in high school, but this is just an auger attachment for a standard 18 volt drill. You can get them in bigger diameters, littler diameter. I like this. I think this is the 2-inch diameter if I remember correct. It just makes the perfect size hole. I think the bigger one is too big for me, and I don't care for it as much, but the 2-inch diameter on this seems to really do a great job, and it's such a time saver. Next up is disposable stakes. Now there's a couple different kind of disposable stakes that we're using. The Berkshire cable with the basically it's just the standard. It's not the heavy duty or anything, and we'll show you what that looks like driving it in the ground. There's a reason why they're called disposable. They're cheap. You can use them once, throw them away. We reuse ours. We rebend them back, make sure that they're all ready to go again. We check all the steel on it to make sure it's not going to break on us. But that right there, way better. We have such a higher catch and keep rate with these as opposed to like the old rebar, where we cross some stuff like that. Drags, things like that work in situations where you need it, but 100% of the time we're using this right here. Very occasionally I might use a drag if I get in like a rocky bottom somewhere down river bottom ground where I'm in rocky bottoms, but for the most part we're always going to use these disposable stakes. And this, like I said, these were the Berkshires. You can pick them up pre-made at Hoosier Trapper Supply, or you can pick up all the parts to make them yourself. A couple other tools that it's kind of a necessity to have on the line with you when you're setting is a stake driver. You can buy these, again, everything we've got here we can pick up from Charlie at Hoosier Trapper, but if you're mechanically inclined, you can also, make your own. They've got different ones. There's heavy duty, standard. There's several other brands that have their own driver, but the driver for the disposable stake works really well. And then, a hammer for the driver. This 3-way hammer right here, and you can see it's got some age on it, but you can pick these up. I can dig out a dirt hole if I want to dig a dirt hole. I can also use that, I use it to dig out a little bit. Once I get my trap base set, I dig that out a little bit to push my J.C. Connor shock spring in. Also, this is what I make my trap bed with, is the chisel part of it, and obviously you got the blunt tip for the hammer. But kind of heavy, but they're a necessity. So as far as traps go, really it's your own preference. Scott and I have a mixed bag of traps. The Duke 550s we have found to be for the cost. The MB 550 is what he and I really liked. We started switching everything over to. Duke came out with the 550. So much more cost effective, and honestly the traps are performing just as well. It's night latched, cast jaws, offset, and I tell you, this trap sets really well and it holds up really well. You can 4-coil them, do all kinds of stuff you want to do, but there's nothing wrong with the old Bridger number 2s. I've got 3 dozen, 4 dozen Bridger number 2s that are still going good. I know after a while you do need to replace your springs and do a little more maintenance on those than you will with these, but so whatever trap choice you want to use, it's really personal preference. But I would advise on all of your predator traps to have the J.C. Connor shock spring. That's going to keep that animal from having basically a real hard leveraged pull off of that trap. Going to have a whole lot less pullouts with this that we've found personally on research of it. But it's pretty inexpensive to add onto that trap. We've created some more swivel points with it. So on this trap we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 swivel points right there, and that doesn't include, this is actually 2 swivel points. So there's actually more than that, but there's 4 swivels on this trap, which about 6 swivel points. And then we like the quick links and the disposable stakes. So the next thing up, we'll talk about lures, bait, stuff like that. Okay, so when talking about bait, lure, all that kind of stuff, man, you can really get in the weeds with that, and everybody's got their thing that they like. Me personally, I've tried a lot of different big manufacturers. Charlie Mashek's formula with Hoosier Trapper Supply and the Top Dog Predator bait, caught a lot of coyotes with it. It did just fine. It performs well across multiple states. We've tried some Dunlaps and different things like that. Honestly, for Scott and I, we like to reuse a lot of what we catch, so we've just started making our own bait. If you can make your own bait, great. But Top Dog Predator bait, nothing wrong with it. If you can use it, we just like making our own bait. We can kind of experiment with it, and honestly, we've been really successful with this number four formula right here. So bait is just kind of on whatever you want to use. I know some guys don't even use bait, so that's what the bait. This another option that we probably will put a video out on later is this is a spray bottle solution that we've concocted up. Basically, it's beaver blood, watered down some, and when we skin the beaver, there's something about the beaver that the coyotes just go nuts for, and this beaver blood will spray some of that right up on top of the hole, and it works great as a lure. I know a guy that uses just this, doesn't use any bait, doesn't use any lure, just uses this. So it's something new that we're kind of trying. And then with lures, it's kind of like with fishing lures, man. There's you know, a million different ones to choose from, and guess what? You can catch stuff with all of them. My favorite lure that I've found over the last 2 or 3 years is Jet Fuel from Justin Jet. It's his formula, sold at Hoosier Trapper Supply. It's blue, and you know, it just has a weird look. It doesn't look like any other lure on the market, but it really works well with lures. Don't overthink it, but find which lure works better maybe for your area or the dogs that you're targeting. Urine is another option, and again with urine, you know, some guys use bobcat urine, fox urine, coyote urine, whatever. We use some gland lure also. There's so much, like I said, you can get in the weeds so deep that you can actually start to overthink it, but I like to use red fox urine myself, and I'm not using a lot of it. Right now I've just got a squirt top on. A lot of times I'll actually like to use a spray top, but that's pretty much it on the you know, lure stuff like that. The last thing, last couple things, a good pair of pliers. Always have on the line with you. This right here, if you're running the Bridger number 2s in particular, that base plate wants to bend really easy, and so this I can take, put on that, adjust it to get my trap pan set level, because that's a big thing. A lot of times on those Bridgers, once you've had a catch, it wants to pull that base plate in, and now your trap pan is sitting up at an angle. And with this, I can bend that back around, do a little work on it. That's one nice thing about the nicer traps you typically buy. You don't have to do a whole lot to them. The cheaper the trap you go, a lot of times you'll have to modify them after catches, stuff like that. So just like anything else, you kind of get what you pay for. Other than that, you just need to really worry about what you're going to cover your trap with. You can use tan covers, you can use wax paper, whatever to do it like a trap cover, but cover holes work good. Sifted dirt works well. Dry dirt, wax sand, all that kind of stuff. We're here in Indiana, and what I found is with the freeze and thaw all the time, man, peat moss has just really worked well for me. I've mixed peat moss in with cover holes to make the cover holes go a little further. The cover holes want to blow away. We get out in these big farm fields and there's a lot of wind, so find out which one of those. There's so much research you can do. I'm going to show you today what I do, but go out and research. You know, you talk all these trappers, find out what they're using. You know, I can say it works for me, what I'm doing today, but you may find for your area or for, you know, whatever, it may not work well for you. Modify it, you know, and it doesn't bother me a bit to say, hey, I saw what you did here, I changed this around, I'm catching a lot of dogs. That's great. That's what we're kind of wanting to do, is learn a little bit. So that's what we're doing today. Coyote 101. Now that we know what we're using, let's get in the field and let's use it. Well, since filming this, we've actually switched over to wolf fang anchors. I've switched all my traps over just so I can carry one driver, but we've seen an improved catch and hold success with them, almost to a fault. We're actually going to have to do a little modifying to our S hooks, because when we used the trap puller, they were so hard to pull that we actually pulled some chain in half and all kinds of stuff like that. So really happy with the way those wolf fang anchors have turned out so far. Okay, so now let's talk about location, where to set. I know what I'm using, I know the equipment, but where am I going to set it? So really there's a couple different, in my mind, there's 3 different thought processes. There's the completely random thought process that you just go out, throw a lot of traps at them. It works, you can catch dogs that way. It's a lot of work. There's the I'm only going to set on sign method, and obviously when you find sign, there's been dogs there. My thing is, I don't find, it's really rare that I find that area that's just so littered in sign that I say I have to set that. Now every time I find sign, for the most part, I'm gonna go ahead and set that area, but you know, I'm not just setting on signs. So that brings the third point. You look for pinch points, funnels, you know, in and out farm fields, places where the place next down, you know, you can find those points that look like coyotes are going to travel there. And typically when you find those points, you're going to also find the sign, but sometimes maybe not. Maybe the ground's froze and they're not putting tracks down. Whatever the case, I'm a big look at the location. I find my pinch points, I find my funnels, I find the field edges, my farm fences, and I'm going to set those. Typically that also comes with, along the way, if I find sign, I'm going to sit on that sign as well. But that kind of goes over the three idealations of location and where to set, but we're going to talk about each individual place here now. Alright, so here's one of the spots we talk about a pinch point. We've got this grass field here, we've got a large grass hay field behind us, we've got this hay field, and where this pinches down right here, where this pinches down back here behind me, I've got a double set. I got one on each side of this point, each point here. I find a high spot that I'm not going to worry about water traveling through, whatever, and I set these double sets on these high spots on each side of this. The coyotes are going to naturally funnel through this spot right here. I can't tell you over the years how many coyotes and how many dogs that I've caught off of places like this right here. It's just natural for them, and it's just a travel corridor. Alright, so another great classic location is right here behind me. I've got woven wire, barbed wire fence. These locations like this, you can see where the animals are going underneath. I've got coyote fur right here on the barbed wire itself. I've got to set something out here close to this because these animals are clearly crossing right here. This would be an okay place for a snare. I just know that there's dogs in the area and I don't really want to take a chance on catching one of the dogs in that snare. I could go with a no-kill. I'm just not going to mess with it. So we're going to throw a dirt hole right out here on this side of that fence, because we've got we'll set another trap on the other side of it, but either way we want to catch the dog here. Another classic location right here is where I have a fence row and a fence row coming together. They come to a point. This point opens up into this whole field, so anything that's wanting to cross this field, this is a natural aiming point to come to, and anything that's traveling either fence row here is going to come past this point at some point. So anytime I find a point out in a field somewhere that is it's natural for those animals to want to go to it, I'm going to set that point. Okay, so at this particular location, we're on the edge of the cornfield here. Beside us is a real thick underbrush, sagey grass, you know, whatever's in it. It's going to hold your small game, it's going to hold your rabbits, your squirrel, your quail, your birds, all that stuff. That should be held well there. I'm coming off that about 10 feet. I'm going to set this trap right here. The wind should be blowing that way. They're going to want to hunt this edge. My trap should smell, the smell should hit him right in the nose and pull him right out of this thicket right here. That's the hope anyway. I've got traps all around this edge, so if he doesn't like it here, maybe he'll like the next location. Alright, so the last location that we're going to talk about is 2-track farm lanes coming you know, down the crop edge or whatever, or in and out of barn lot, whatever it be. And then also anytime a transition happens from corn or chisel plowed ground to grass or like a lane or anything like that, if a coyote has a choice to walk between this nice firm grass lane or this rough corn stalk or even chisel plowed field, he's going to always pick this lane. So a lane that runs next to a crop field is always a perfect location. We set them every time. Anytime we find those, we set them. But just wanted to touch base. This is the last location we're going to talk about, and now we'll talk about some sets. All right, so let's talk briefly about the advantages and disadvantages of setting close to water. Advantages, obviously, game likes to travel water. Small game prey animals like to travel water. Coyotes will travel parallel with water, typically won't cross the water. Now they will find shallow crossings, stuff like that, which I like to set on shallow crossings on each side of the shallow crossing. I can't tell you how many coyotes we've caught by setting on each side of a farmer's crossing where he's got, you know, maybe an inch of water running, because those coyotes will run this whole creek till they find that shallow water crossing, and then you will find so much sign right there you can't help but set it. But the disadvantages of the creek is you're going to get your possums, your coons, some non-target animals in your sets, you know, more frequently that way. Me personally, if the sign's there, I'm going to set it, and if I have to pull some coons, possums out of the set, I'm going to pull them out of the set. Now that we've talked about locations, just keep in mind this is just what works for us or has worked for us. You know, I'm sure there's plenty of other locations that can catch coyotes. I've caught some coyotes in random sets that I never would have thought to put it in that location, but still caught dogs there. So just keep that in mind. That's just what works for us or what's worked for us in the past, and always try new sets and new locations. You never know what may happen. So let's go make a set. Okay, now that we've talked a little bit about location, we've picked this spot. I need to figure out where I'm going to put my trap and what direction. You know, I use prevailing wind a lot of times. We've talked about that. We'll talk more about that. Next thing I need to do is find a backer. A backer so that I want the coyote to approach from the direction that I want him to approach from. Coming in, hopefully I can get the wind correct most of the time, but I don't want him to be able to work that from the side, obviously, that my trap's not in. So I need something from the back to keep him from coming around from behind it and working it. And now, if you go out and watch some of the Teachers of the Night stuff, watch some of the guys that have done some night videos, those dogs may work a set, you know, 3 times to, there's documents where they've showed them working it 25 to 30 times. So they may circle it, and the bagger's not going to keep him from circling it, but it's going to keep him from being able to approach and dig it from that side. So we're going to use today a tuft of grass, and then because of that tuft of grass, I don't want him to still be able to approach from this side. We're going to use this on the other side of that little tuft of grass. So we're going to show you that now. Now I'm going to take my drill. I like going at a 45-degree angle because then that also forces the coyote to come back around behind the hole and look into it. If you do it straight up and down, he can see into that hole from anywhere around this point of this trap. I want him to work. I'm going to set my trap right there. I want him to have to come and look into that dirt hole from where the trap bed is. So I'm doing a 45. I get to this point, I'm going to pull some of this fresh dirt over here to the side, and we'll use a little bit of that to bed our trap with. Just widening out the top of my hole a little bit. And that's just how quick we make the dirt hole with that. So next thing, I'm taking my hammer. I'm gonna come, I just kind of have a general idea. I like to guard the hole. I'm gonna come off the hole where I like to guard it to. I don't like coming off a certain, you'll get a feel as a trapper for how far back you want to set your trap. And at that point, you know, splitting hairs, whether it's 8 inches, 10 inches, I know some guys that are serious about it, and I'm more power to them. They catch a lot of coyotes, but that's just not for me. So now I've got my trap bed dug out. I'm offset of the hole just a little bit, and that's simply because I'm hoping that he steps in here to look in. If he doesn't, if he steps in here to look in, he will eventually put that other foot down, so I'll get him. But I like to take it the other end, just make me a small hole there, That's for me to shove my chain and everything into. Stake driver, cable stake. Now here's the important part with the cable stakes, is actually pulling it out to set that. You gotta set that, you gotta set your actual anchor. I actually take, especially when the ground's soft like this, just hammer my chain down into it a little bit. Put a little fresh mud there on top of my spring. And now I'm ready to go ahead and get my trap set. Alright, so now I'm working on getting that to the night latch position. It just clicked. I set mine in at a 45. That way, as they step into it, neither one of the jaws are throwing their foot out of it. And I'm gonna pack some of this fresh mud. It is kind of nice when we're a little bit warmer today. And what makes that kind of nice is this mud will pack really well in here, and we don't really have to worry about it getting super cold temperatures. I don't even think it's going to get below freezing. We've only got 10 days, 2 weeks tops here on our season. So I'm not really getting super worked up about it. We do have some rain in the forecast, which, you know, that's part of trapping. But so my trap is super firm. I don't want that trap to have any rock whatsoever in it, if I can keep from it. So I've got that done. Got a little bit of a eye appeal here now with some fresh dug dirt. And we've got our bait. Like I said, this is our number 4 formula here that has worked out really well for us. And you know, it doesn't take, you know, you don't have to throw I've seen people throw an entire deer hindquarter or something in it, you know, and it's just, it doesn't take that. So I like to use, I don't know, it's tablespoon maybe size. So my bait's in my hole. You'll notice I want it down as far as I can in that hole, and that's because I want that coyote to have to really work at it. He will stay here a long time if he can't get to it, and he'll work for it. Lure here, we're going to use Justin Jet formula jet fuel. We're going to go just above the hole. This is just to get the coyote there to the set. And then once we get him to the set, we want him to focus down in the hole for our bait. We've got that done. So the trap is set. We've got our lure and our bait in. Now we can switch over and go get our trap covering and come back and cover our trap. We're using peat moss today, like we talked about earlier. Sometimes you'll get a chunk in there, but for the most part, and I do have a sifter with me, but we're trying to throw some sets in really quick here, and so I'm probably not taking all the precautions I need to be taking, but we're so late in the game here that I'm not gonna worry about all that much. I will show you just so you can kind of see. I go through the sifter. Last thing I'm doing here is just kind of flattening off the top. I will take just some grass. I try not to get anything real big in there. Any kind of sticks or anything like that you obviously want to pull out. But it doesn't have to be anything too perfect, I don't think. I could be wrong. So this one is ready. We've got lure, bait, traps there. Traps covered good. You know, don't know what to expect on this one. There's not a lot of sign on this set, but we're gonna hope for the best and see what happens. So we'll show you some checks, I hope, here real soon. Well, I hope this episode was informative and that you can pick something up possibly out of it to maybe pick up your success on your line. I know it wasn't the story-based episode that we usually try to put out, but I've had a lot of viewers ask me for some how-to videos, so we're going to try to do more of that. I believe in giving the viewer what they want to see, and we're going to go with that. So I hope that you're successful this year and that your line stays full of fur. Thanks for watching.